Welcome, everyone. Yeah. So, maximum value. How do you get maximum value from automation in testing? I call it automation in testing these days, what many people still call test automation or automated testing, but that's a separate topic, something for later. Ask me afterwards. Although there's a risk in that. If you do talk to me, I have to warn you, I do like to help people and talk about automation all the time. So you can ask me something, but afterwards it may be hard to shut me up again. So it's just to warn you. Value. Let me ask you a question first and take a bit of a detour. Are any of you using user stories or have used user stories? Yeah. So no, it's not that kind of question. Thanks. So. Not yet, anyway. So, user stories they have a particular format, right? How you write them down. So, what do they look like? Anyone? What does a user story look like? The format? That's a different kind of format, but indeed, as a something, I want something, so that's something, right? You're familiar with it. There are different forms and you can translate it in other languages, but basically that's the thing. And there's a risk that people say, basically I'm only interested in the I want part. You know, that's the functionality, the features that we want. That's the important bit. So they could leave out, they don't usually, but they could leave out the part where it says as a role. They forget the role part. And that's unfortunate because the role gives a perspective to that requirement. He's the person who gets value from that requirement, from that story, from making that functionality. So, but usually that still works. In some cases people say, as a product owner, I want this. Please don't do that. But then there's the third part. So that's much more often left out, and that's really unfortunate. Why do you think that is? Don't be shy, I don't bite. The value. That's what you do it for. That's the reason you have this requirement, that you want some business value from it. And the same applies to thank you. The same applies to automation in testing. Value. When we want to make something, we have normally a pretty straightforward kind of way of getting there. You know what you want in the first place, that's what you start with. Then you think about how can I make that, what do I need to create that? You get a kind of a picture of what you need to make that happen. Then the activities that go with that to realize it, you make a plan, some kind of a plan for them, different kind of forms that we have for those, of course, including a backlog and all of those different kinds methods that you have for planning. And then, of course, you go and do that. And as you do things, as you make things, test things, program things, you get new insights and you may want to adjust your plan a little bit, or something important changes and you may even have to adjust your vision, or when something really big changes, like you know, one big stakeholder moves out, another stakeholder moves in, and he has a different perspective, he wants to go a different way, you may even have to adjust your goal. That's how we do these things. But not usually in automation, what I see. We know how to do automation, more or less. Not everyone does it as well as others, of course, but that's the learning process that we're going through. We can plan things. It's not really different for automation than for other things to plan stuff, but it's the goal and the vision that don't get the attention that they require to get that real value. Because if you don't know where you're going, are you sure you're going to get there? If you don't have a real goal, are you going to get to your goal? in real life, when you step into a car, you want to have a goal, otherwise, you're not getting there. The same applies here. So, and that's the focus of my story is really on the first two, on the goal and on the vision for automation, because that's where you have the foundation of the value that you're going to create. And unfortunately, as I see it, it gets little attention. So that's why I want to stress this a little bit in this talk. And there's not just one possible goal, there are several possible goals. And you want to choose the one that applies to your situation. Different situations, different possible goals that make sense to have. So that's the why part. Now, there are all sorts of different goals people use in automation. And I'm sure you've come across some of them. Could you mention some goal that you've seen in automation? This is what we want to achieve with our automation. Any examples? Automate everything. That's a really simple one.
Reduce manual test effort.
Reduce manual testing, sure. Sorry? Speed up regression, yeah, focus on the regression part of it, yeah. Consistency from automation, sure. I listed a few of them, there are more, and of course the favorites are the bottom two, boosting your CV, because everyone wants automation, so I'm going to do automation so that for my next project I get a better pay. Or we're doing Agile, or we're doing Scrum, so we have to do automation, right? So that's why we do it. This is not really very helpful. I would say that none of these are very good goals. But what is a good goal? When is a goal a good goal? What is the goal of having a goal? What would you say? When is a goal a good goal? Not something that you think about a lot, is it? But, here, someone with something that you can measure. That's definitely very helpful. Actually, it's something that I will mention on this slide. Any other thoughts? The thing with the goal is, you have somewhere to go, right? And that matters to two parties, basically, I guess. One, a goal that happens in an organization, it should be aligned with the needs of the business. And if you formulate a goal, either taking it from the business or discussing it with the business, or at least telling the business, then you can align. And you know that what you think is a good thing to do, they hopefully agree. So you can align with them and actually make business value and not just do it. So-called Nike-style automation. Just do it. And what the gentleman here in front mentioned, it is very nice if you have something that you can actually measure so that you see how you are making progress and also present that to the business. But the more practical side of this is, of course, that if you have a goal, then you, as a team, as an individual, can make decisions based on, this is where I want to go. If I come to a crossing, I can choose which way I go so that I come to my goal. And that's what we use goals for. If we have a goal, then we have our strategic decisions around them, some really fundamental decisions that we make. Every now and then we have a more tactical decision that has less impact than that, but still affects things for a long time or for many people. And every day we have the smaller decisions, and all these can be aligned with that goal so that you know this is what is value for me, and I know how to get there. I can make sure I get there by making those decisions according to that goal. Okay, so now what are the goals then, right? What will help me? People then often say, but it's automation. Automation has only one goal. Make shit go faster. That's it. And yes, of course, automation does make stuff go faster, but that's not what I'm trying to do here. let me introduce you to, this is not my motorcycle, but mine is almost identical to this one. Now let me ask you, why do I have this motorcycle? Why do you think I have this motorcycle? Yes, it is a trick question, but that's okay, Toy. Shopping. Okay. Okay, that could be.
Why you have this one instead of like the faster one? Basically, like you're probably traveling a lot.
Okay, traveling. Yeah, that's a factor. Traffic jams. Actually, she is quite close to the mark. Because there are other factors that you could think of course, but the thing is this. I could like motorcycles, but not have one. I could like this motorcycle and not have one. I could like red motorcycles and still drive a blue one. But the most important thing is actually almost exactly what you said. I'm one of those weird people that, I don't want to offend you because, but I'm one of those people that, unlike most people, does not like traffic jams. You know, I know you probably all love them, but I don't. So I want to drive to my work, which I have to do frequently, in comfort and quickly, without being stuck in traffic jams. And this motorcycle allows me to do that comfortably because it's big, there's a big screen, I can sit straight instead of like this. So this motorcycle does what I wanted to do. And it's the same with automation, not that the motorcycle will help with that, but a motorcycle drives, so you can use it to drive. Yes, but that's not the reason why. That's not the real reason behind everything. And in automation, it goes like this, as far as I know. So one of the real reasons behind automation, possible reasons, is cost. It used to be a big reason like 20 years ago. Yes, I'm that old, I was there. Automation then was mostly to send more testers away, to reduce the testing and send testers away. It's not the case so much anymore. Sometimes still, but it's not the main focus. It can still be a focus, but it can still be a point, but usually automation costs money instead of saving money. Probably know that also. Another one is quality. Automation can really contribute to quality, and that can be the main goal of your automation, to support that process. Not, of course, because automation finds so many bugs, it doesn't, but still it can contribute to quality big time. In this case, by supporting exploratory testing, and that's where the bugs are found. And finally, speed. And this and quality are really the most important business-oriented reasons that we have for automation. And there are actually three kinds of speed that I can think of. One of them is efficiency. If you want to get your story or bug fix or whatever from being picked up from the board to production as fast as possible, automation can help with that. And you would make your decisions in a certain way. You know, that's one way to do it. One story to production as fast as possible. There's a different case if you want productivity. I just want to do as much work as I can in a fixed period of time, like a sprint. Still the same automation. The choices that you make will be a bit different. And finally, especially in Agile, the focus on automation is very often on the team to get developers fast feedback on their stuff. Am I done? Didn't I break anything? Can I pick up the next story because things still work? Those are business-oriented goals to automation. And then we add one more, a bit different kind, and that is sustainability. Because if you lose track of sustainability in your automation, if you don't focus on making it sustainable, it will probably be unsustainable. and fall apart after a while, and then the value is gone. So one of those plus sustainability, that is a real business-oriented goal that will help you make decisions to offer that value and continue to offer that value with your automation. But suppose that let me first ask, which one of you has been in a project where the automation goal, the goal of automation, the focus of doing the automation was clearly defined in such a business-oriented way? Look around you and see that no one is raising their hand. Interesting, isn't it? Which confirms what I said earlier. This is not how automation is usually practiced. But I hope you agree that it would be a good idea. Anyway, so once we know that that is what we want, how do we get it? Because automation, there are too many things that you have to think about or can think about. What do we do with test data? How many test environments? What training will we need? How will we organize the process? How will delivery go? How does it support delivery? All sorts of questions. And it's very easy to miss one, important one even. So how do you deal with that? Because there doesn't seem to be a real overview of, okay, this is everything that you need to do, right? Does anyone know an overview of all the issues that are involved in automation? I don't think many people have tried to even make one. I haven't found any. So I created one. And what I did was, or actually the best way to explain it is that I found that the whole field of automation is not really one big thing with all sorts of topics, but it can be divided into 5 areas. And that helps. Because first, of course, if we're making software and testing software, that's done by people, obviously. So those people are an important factor, and there are some questions and issues concerned with those people. Those people do nice work. For instance, they write test cases. They do analysis and they write test cases. And they also make the automation that will execute the automated part of the test cases. And of course, you make the product itself and the environment in which it runs and the data and everything. So that all of that has to be made. That is all work that we do. And one of the important and interesting things about what happens in the test environment, where everything comes together, there are different issues there, including test data and service virtualization and scheduling and all that kind of stuff, and reporting. That's another topic that we can focus on, an area where certain questions need to be addressed. But all of the things that we're making, the software, the automation, and the test cases, making them requires certain techniques to do it well. So that's, again, a separate area that we can focus on, how to do things well and sustainably. Of course, making the things and interacting with other people in doing so is what we call processes. And those also affect automation, or automation affects those. So that's another area. And finally, all of this happens in the context of an organization, and an organization that also changes. It has to support everything, but it also requires certain things from all of this. So that context, the organization, which I will call product here, because it's treating automation as a product, not just as something that you do, but also something that you make that has value, just like the system and the test. So we get 5 areas here. And if we work those out in a little bit of detail, which I did, then you get something like this. This is basically an overview of automation in testing as a whole. But when I made this and shared it with people, I found that they did not find it so useful or easy to use. One of the reasons probably that it's pretty big and all sorts of things. It has structure. Actually, it adds, it's called the puppet model, product understanding, which is not questions, but fundamental issues about automation, people, process, execution, and techniques. And you will notice that Almost all of those are questions, because every situation is different. There are no universal answers, but you can ask universal questions and then see what is the right answer for your particular situation. And all those answers together would help you know what your vision should be, what you need to have that value from automation, according to your goal that you defined. So a bit more practical then is something that I call the automation in testing assessment, which I then made. And I want to share with you what that is. So basically what I did was make a table, but it's an Excel sheet, of course. You know, test tools use Excel, right? Anyway, so I have the various areas according to the Puppet categories. And for each of those areas, you can give it a score. I want to keep that simple, so what I did is basically red, yellow, green. It's good, it needs work, or it's really not good enough, to keep it simple. And you want to give your reason for that score, and if there's something that needs doing, you can write them down. Of course, this is too high level. You cannot just give a topic and then expect people to find all the relevant information. So with this goes a list of questions that will help you to find the color and the points that need attention for your situation. And this is an example of it for the product side. What does the organization need to do? Examples are how does it fit into the delivery model or models? If multiple teams are bringing stuff to production, how do you align that automation together? I mean, that's not just one team working, but teams working together. If you want to end-to-end automation or acceptance test automation of the actual system, how do they work together? How will that fit together? Those are issues for the organization and the rest you can probably all read, so I won't list that for you. So these are examples of questions that will then help you to give a score and things to work on for each of those areas. And when you have all that, you can define your actions in the usual way, whatever your usual way is. Put actions on the backlog, prioritize them, and go and do them. What I find helpful in this case is to use the same structure of product, people, process, execution, and techniques to divide the various actions and get some more structure and also visualize it. And you don't need, of course, to plan everything, but, well, I don't know, the first half year of things that you want to do, or the first year, whatever, not everything. And it will help you to go and do it and see where you are, how you're making progress in your road towards your vision to achieve your goal. And this is, of course, abstract, so let's make it a bit more concrete. By the way, of course, actions can depend on other actions. I must make sure that I don't fall off this stage. It's not as unhealthy, they tell me. I've never tried it. So actions can depend on other actions. For example, here, this is a more concrete example. So if my goal is fast feedback, I have an agile team and it wants to just know quickly when the work is done and a new story can be picked up for a developer. You would, for instance, conclude that in the product area you would want to hire a coach. And you want to create an automation team, a centralized automation team at this point, so that they together can build up expertise and frameworks and stuff and support each other until the point later on that you decide, okay, we can now dissolve the automation team. We want to move, our real goal was to have automation taking place in each team with an automator in each team. But that can be a detour to get to that goal, to first build stuff up. And then in all of those areas you can have your task, and this may help visualize how you're realizing your vision. And then, when you've done all that, you go and do it. As you usually do. Of course, you want to keep adjusting according to how things develop. You know, You make something that has value, and okay, and then you find that you need something more, or you find that the context changes in another way, or whatever changes may need to be done, you want to make those. So to summarize, what I would suggest to you is make sure that the goal you have for automation is explicit, is business oriented, and also shared with whoever is a stakeholder of the automation. Not all of them are very much aware of it, but it's good that they know, that they can get you feedback on it, that this is indeed a good thing to do, and they also know what you're doing and why you're doing it, and perhaps how far you are. Then make sure that you don't overlook important factors in the automation. To help you with that, I have the IET, Automation in Testing Improvement Assessment, which you can get from me for free, no strings attached. Just let me know and I will give it to you. If I don't hear from you ever again, that is fine. I would like feedback on it, but you can do with it whatever you want. And then you'll know what to do, and you can plan those and execute those as you always do. And that's my story for today. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, so let's proceed to questions. Any questions?
Hi, Martin. Thank you. If I can just ask you, because in the past we had models like TPI, TMMI, and they had levels of maturity. It was very, very prescriptive. It said at this level you should have organizational test strategy or something like that. Yeah? But your model, I get it, is based on the goals. You need to think about the goals. But in your model, do you actually have some more prescriptive steps, some recommendations, whether at this point it's better to have the centralized team and then distribute it?
I came to create all of this while trying to write a book. I'm still trying to write it. It's not done yet. And there's so much attached to this. That's why actually the mind map model that I showed you, that was perfectly useful for me, because I have 25 years of experience, and when I see the map, I know what I have to do. Actually, I basically have it in my mind, and I know what to do. But for others who are less experienced, they need more structure, more being guided along the way. So that's and more information about all of these topics. So that's why I'm trying to put it in a book. But that is a lot of information to know. So yes, there's a lot more attached to this, but you cannot just easily do that, except, and that's where I'm trying to find the balance, and why I also would like feedback. Because this, I think, is a level where it makes sense for people to talk about this. You know, give them the questions, but eventually outcomes, this is what we feel about what our current situation is, this is what we want to do. So this is the way you want to report it, basically, and plan it, but you need more detailed questions which I didn't provide in the document. And if you really want to know more about automation, then there are books and articles and blogs and everything for that. So yes, I have a structure, but not so easy to present other than in the form of a book. That's just too much. Make sense? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
So maybe TMMI itself is a kind of framework that you can reuse for your own, liking. So maybe those points that you have pointed, those could be maybe transitioned to the matrix itself, to the maturity matrix, and you could go with, ABCD and then.
Maybe it will develop more towards that, but I would really like it to stay practical. And when I think of TMMI, I think big,
Enterprise.
Enterprise level stuff where you need to hire consultants and everything. I would like it to stay more practical than that.
Instead of becoming NASA in one day. Okay.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Thank you.